Okay, this is jumping off of something that I brought up in the last video. I made a video talking about the different hockey teachers that Luffy has had. You know, Rayleigh, Old Man Hyo, Scopper. They've all teached Luffy how to play a good game of hockey. Luffy's the best damn goalie like there ever was. Okay, but no. In that video at the end, I was starting to talk about Scopper training Luffy and how that could really work. Like, I feel like in order for that to fit in the story, you do have to get some kind of time dilation thing going. Like, as much as I would love another 2-year time skip and then the Straw Hats come back even buffer than before, like Usopp's like, all right, guys, you see how ripped I got in the 2-year time skip. Let's do another 2-year time skip. Usopp comes out there. He's like 10 feet tall and he's like, yeah. It's like nothing can stop him. Now, we don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. Like, Vegapunk kind of urgently declared the world is going to flood soon. Emu and the Gorosei are not going to sit around while like, ah, yes, Lord Emu, it seems the Straw Hats have decided to stay on Elbaph for several years and train to get stronger. And Emu's like, yes, it seems the main characters are out of the picture for the time being, right? Ah, yes, and then after the Straw Hats leave Elbaph, the entire world has been taken over by Emu. I mean, it kind of already was, but he's gone completely mask off with it. It's really taken over by Emu now. Like, the sky is red, and Emu's face is over it, like, whoa. And the Straw Hats are like, ah! You know? Great premise for a video game, but, like, I don't think that's the direction Oda's gonna go in, okay? So, I'm not against a training arc, but we gotta do some hyperbolic time chamber stuff, alright? We gotta have some time dilation stuff, and the setup for that is actually there. Like, it's not that absurd. First of all, this is One Piece, where, like, every single trope from every single manga and anime and any work of fiction has been incorporated. There's aliens in One Piece. There's time travel in One Piece. So, like, sure, like a little pocket dimension. There are pocket dimensions in One Piece. There's a guy that literally has a devil fruit called the Pocket no Mi that creates a pocket dimension, all right? So, yeah, it's set up. It's there, all right? So we go back to Louis Arnault's little excerpt from Bragman that he, said, where he was talking about Elbaph and all the wonders of Elbaph. Oh, yes, the trees, the animals, everything here is so large and so fantastical. It's like out of a storybook. However, don't linger in Elbaph for too long. Ooh, very mysterious, somewhat ominous. But none of the giants have really brought this up, right? Like, you'd feel like, considering the Straw Hats are like the national heroes of the giants, and the giants have lived here for thousands of years. If there was any big obvious reason why not to stay in Elbaph, Dory, Bragi, Oimo, Kashi, somebody, Girth or Hiruden, somebody would have said to the Straw Hats, oh, by the way, Straw Hats, it doesn't really happen with giants for whatever reason, or maybe we don't notice because we live longer than you, but humans tend to age faster on the island, or they tend to age, the humans on the outside age faster. It's some weird time thing going on here. Nobody's brought anything up. However, when you look at the structure of the island, or of the tree, the treasure tree atom, Yggdrasil, there is a way that this could all work out, where there is like some weird time dilation location. That's a fun phrase, time dilation location. But we just haven't seen it yet, all right? So go back to chapter 1132. When Dory and Bragi were heading up the Rainbow Bridge, they were taking part of the Straw Hats, like Jinbei's group, up to the Sun Lair. Luffy's group was having fun in the primordial world still, but they were heading up to the Rainbow Bridge, and I think it was Bragi was the one that explained the essential, like, structure of the tree. At the very bottom, you have the primordial realm, or the realm of the dead, okay? They literally use, like, the kanji for, like, Hades, okay, or Pluto, all right? So it's like the underworld, okay? Then, the middle layer is the Sun Lair, which, from what we understand, is where all the giants live. Okay, we see all the villages in the Sun Lair, the Western Village, the Huntsman Village, the Artisan Village, the Walrus School, and the Owl Library, the Warrior Spring. That is all located in the Sun Lair. All right, so everything happening right now in the story is either in the Primordial Realm, where Loki was chained up, or it's in the Sun Lair, where the school is, where the Gods Knights are at, the castle. All that stuff is in the Sun Lair, all right? And you see it when you look at an image of Elbaph. This is the place where all the buildings are, and you also see giant cannons and all this stuff coming out of the Sun Lair. There's a big gap between, like, the canopy of, like, the ceiling of the Primordial World, I guess, and then the upper, I guess it would be the ceiling of the Sun Lair or the floor of the Heaven Lair. You know, you see this, okay? So then the last, but certainly not least location that is just mentioned once. Like, Bragi says the name of it, but that's all we know. Nothing more has been told about it. Was the Heaven Lair. Or I think the Viz translation of this is the Astral Lair. And it makes sense considering what they're going with here. They literally use the kanji for, like, sky, for heaven, okay? So you have a world underground, the underrealm. Then you have the mortal realm, as it were, you know, Midgard, I guess. Considering this is Yggdrasil, this is the world tree. There's not 9 realms. They reduced that down. They divided that by 3 and got them down to 3 realms, just for simplicity, all right? The whole thing with, like, the dark elves and the light elves and Muspelheim and all that could be, like, thrown out. There's the Jotunheimer, like the ice giants. I guess the ice giants can move into the underworld if they want to. You know, I don't know. It is like, you remove a bunch of those realms, you only got 3. You got Underworld, Sun Realm, and the Heaven Realm, the Astral Realm, okay? Now, from what we see, from the way the tree looks, one thing that's interesting, the Heaven Lair is completely enclosed. Right? The Primordial Realm, you could see it. You could see the mountains. You could see the castle where the Straw Hats were imprisoned in Rhodes' Lego City. That was mentioned to be an old prison used for giants. It makes sense they would build a prison in the Primordial Realm because it's not a very pleasant place to live. And then in the Sun Realm, you can also see a bunch of buildings and villages and castles and cannons and all sorts of shit. There's that sword that's, like, impaled into the side of the tree. That's in the Sun Realm. Great. Then you get to the top of the tree, the upper canopy, and it is completely enclosed. We don't really see anything on the outside of the tree. We see some water. We see, like, some waterfalls and stuff, coming off of the Heaven Lair, but that is it. That is all we see, okay? So that means, as Luffy would say, it's mysterious. It's a mystery tree, you know? Like, okay, so haven't acknowledged it at all, and it hasn't been relevant involving, like, the Gods Knights or anything like that. So I am going to assume whatever is up there, we're going to find out what is up there. But I don't think we're going to find out about it right now. I don't think it's going to be pertinent to the Straw Hats defeating the Gods Knights. Scopper is there now fighting against Summers. Loki and Luffy and Zoro and Sanji and the new giant warrior pirates are going to jump up from the Primordial Realm at some point. They're going to help fight. All that stuff's going to go down. But what that place could be is relevant for the future of the story, okay? So, what is exactly up there in the canopy of the Heaven Lair? It could literally be anything. Maybe the Straw Hats go up there and, like, everything is dark and enclosed and you could see, like, stars or planets, but they're actually, like, maybe giant insects or something, like they're inside of a huge terrarium, or maybe it's like some observatory where it's like, ooh, stars, and there's, like, Milky Ways and stuff like that up there. Maybe something like that. That looks really neat. It could be like a graveyard for the giants, like a holy site. It could be an amusement park. It could be the Mushroom Kingdom for all we know. Okay, we don't know what is up there. It could literally be anything. Scopper shows the Straw Hats that, like, while we're up here, time flows differently. So we can spend a year in here and only a week passes in the outside world, okay? So, that's why Louis Arnault said don't linger in Elbaph for too long, because if you stay in this particular area of the Heaven Lair, maybe it's really nice up there and you never want to leave. And when you do leave, you have aged like 50 years, but everybody else in the world hasn't aged at all. And so you're an old man. You've Rip Van Winkled all this shit. You know what I mean? I guess reverse Rip Van Winkle in that regard. Like, Rip Van Winkle stayed young, but everybody else got older. It's like the flip of that or something. Okay. So It could also mess with your mind in that regard. Like, you could go up there and it could be like, oh, this place is amazing. I never want to leave. You know, like, might mess with your brain a little bit there. It could be something. It could also be, considering it is the heaven layer, could be the Elbaph equivalent to Valhalla. All right. And in fact, I thought of a really cool mechanism where this could work. The whole idea is that when a Viking dies on the battlefield, the Valkyries descend and pick up the noble warrior. Ah, Thorkill, you have killed more people in battle than anybody. You go to Valhalla. Thorkill's like, yeah! And you take him up. And he gets ascended, and he goes to the heaven layer or whatever. You could actually have, like, maybe it is a graveyard up there. It is the final place of rest for the giants that have died, okay? Now, there is a thing against that because we did see a giant die. There was Jarl and Yorl. Yorl passed away. Big Mom killed him. But let's just be straight up with Yorl. I'm sorry, man, but you got killed by, like, a 5-year-old girl. So I don't think you get a pass into Valhalla for that. I'm sorry. You got killed by a small child wearing a pink muumuu. That's why everybody was upset. That's why Jarl was like, no, Jarl! You had so much. Like, that's all that matters is the last person that, like, how you die. You could have the most insane battle career ever. You could go out there and have, like, epic war battles for 300 yards straight. Like, ah! You could defeat entire kingdoms. But if you get killed by, like, if you step on a splinter and it gets infected and you die, or you trip and hit your head on a brick or something, like, nope, sorry, doesn't count. You don't go up to the heaven layer. Now, we've seen Jarl be buried outside of the Western Village, right? Okay, so maybe not it's that. Maybe, and he was, like, one of the giant warrior pirates. I don't know. Maybe they didn't bury him up there because of that. I don't know. Maybe that is the reason. I'm not sure. But I thought of a system where you could have, like, oh, this is where giants are buried. Maybe, like, the priests or the nuns or whoever, like, caters to this sacred area, this holy area of Elbaph, are called Valkyries. You know, we don't really involve ourselves with, like, the other realms too much. We only descend to pick up the bodies of the deceased and bring them back up to the heaven layer, where they will lay and rest for all eternity. Also, I mean, like, we actually don't know. Jarl could have been buried up there. We see, like, a grave to Jarl outside of the Western Village, but it was just his helmet and like, his sword and things. I guess it's possible his body could have been taken up, and then, because, like, the whole point of Elbaph is it's on a tree. You know, like, I guess you could bury bodies on a tree, but it would be rather difficult. You could burn them, but, you know, fire bad on Elbaph. You got to be careful when you're starting funeral fires and pyres and whatnot. So it actually might have made more sense for Jarl to be, like, taken up to the heaven layer, but they built, like, a little shrine for him in the Western Village just to kind of, like, honor him that way, so they have a place they can actually visit, like, every day and, like, honor their fallen friend. It could be something like that, very likely. So yeah, hyperbolic time chamber, or it could be a holy site graveyard where all the giants are laid to rest. Going back to the beginning of Elbaph, like, right when we started to learn about these places, I said it would be cool if that place was sort of like the Far Realm, or what was it called? The Far Plane from Final Fantasy X, if you've ever played that. So the idea with the Far Plane is you go to this space, it's very trippy and astral and, like, wispy and just woo, you know, and you can basically talk to people that have died. They're not really there. They're not really, like, the spirits of those that are died. It's kind of like an echo or, like, the recording of someone that has died. So, like, you can go up there and be, like, talked and like, see the person again and talk to them to, like, a limited capacity, but that's kind of it. So I don't really want there to be, like, an entire area where, like, Luffy goes up there and he talks to Ace, and Ace is a ghost, and he's like, hey, Luffy, I'm Ghost Ace, and he has, like, the giant hole still in his chest. He's like, yeah, whenever you die, your ghost just looks like you wear whatever you were wearing when you died. I lost my hat, so I don't even get my hat. Make sure you die with your hat on, Luffy, and that's the one piece of advice that Ace gives him. I don't want that, because I like the sense of finality in this series. I don't want to get too real with it a little bit, but let me bring something up to you really quick. So, handling death in a fictional world can kind of be hit or miss depending on the way it is structured. Perfect example of this. Dragon Ball. I love Dragon Ball. Rest in peace, Toriyama. But in the realm of Dragon Ball, right? The afterlife is explored and mapped, and like the main group of characters all understand and know how the afterlife works. Not only that, but there is a mechanism in the universe of Dragon Ball to bring the dead back to life. There's actually a few. Like, it gets to Dragon Ball Super, fucking Whis can just, like, use his magic staff and just boop, and just, like, bring people back to life. Because it's really the same universe, just, like, you're going over here to, like, the place where everybody's dead, and you get a halo, and then here's, like, the mortal realm, but it's, like, all part of the same thing that's been mapped out and everything like that, right? So, death doesn't really mean as much in the Dragon Ball universe. It just fucking doesn't. Because it's like, oh no, Goku died. Well, we know 100% where he went, and he can communicate with us through King Kai. And there's even a built-in mechanism. We just have to collect the Dragon Balls and bring them back. Like, even after he kills Cell and Goku's like, I don't want to come back. It's like, all right, well, at least we know where you're at. We know where you are. We know what you're doing. And you can even talk to us occasionally. Death is not going to hold as much of a thing as it does in our world, where when you're gone, okay? So, One Piece, one thing I really like about this is it is grounded in the sense of you're dead, you're gone. I know, Brooke, shut up, okay? But for the most part, when aside from this weird, abomination, aside from Brooke, you're gone, all right? So I don't want, like, the spirit of Whitebeard to show up and, like, tell Luffy some stuff. It's like, hi there, Luffy, I'm Whitebeard. I am the ghost of Whitebeard. I have all the memories that he had in life, and now I will tell you about the afterlife in the One Piece world. I will completely map it out, and, we don't really die. We stay spirits, and we can communicate with each other through the heaven realm of Elbaph. Same thing with Ace. Same thing with Roger. All the dead characters show back up again. So to an extent, like I said, with, like, the far plane, like, Nami goes up to the heaven realm and sees, like, a ghost image of Belmir, but it's not really Belmir. It's just her kind of desire to see Belmir again appears, and she says the things that Nami would want to hear from Belmir. Like, Belmir's like, Nami, you did amazing. Thank you for saving the village. Thank you for saving Nojiko and all of the people of Kokoyashi. You finally got rid of Arlong. You've avenged my death. You're a great daughter. You did everything awesome. I love you. Like that kind of stuff. But it's not really her. It's Nami, like, just like her greatest desire to see her mom again and telling her this stuff, okay? Same thing with Frankie. Frankie goes up there and sees Tom, and Tom's like, oh, Frankie, you did a great job. Man, you turned yourself into a cyborg. That's awesome. I'm glad my sea train's doing good, all that kind of stuff. It's just that, and that's why maybe you don't want to leave. Maybe that's why. I did a video on Louis Arnault where I kind of go further into that whole idea, but I just wanted to bring it up here because it could be relevant, right? But I have one more thing to bring up here at the end, and I don't know how you feel about this one, but I'll bring it up as I was sitting here thinking, okay? I'm just going to say it. Nefeltari D. Lily is at the top of the tree. All right, just hold up. I know, it's like, what? I'm like, okay, hold on. She disappeared. We don't know where she went. There's some weird extra-dimensional spatial shit up there where you don't age or something. It's a little pocket dimension where it's like you go up there and you can hang out and you can't leave. Marie-Joie might be the same thing because maybe Emu's immortality only works because they have to stay in that castle, okay? There might be, and that's also really high up too. That's on top of the red line. Maybe there's some weird shit where Emu cannot physically leave the castle, okay? It's like I'm only alive as long as I stay in the castle. As soon as I walk outside, time dilation hits me like a truck and I'm like, ah, and he like disappears into ash. If that's the case, maybe the same deal at the top of the tree. Lily's up there, and she's been up there for 900 years. Then we also have Vivi, who is on Morgan's flying ship, who could easily reach Elbaph, right? The flying ship, there's not a lot of flying machines in One Piece. Morgan's kind of has one of the only ones, so it's very possible that he could just land right in the sun layer, or maybe even land directly in the heaven layer. And then, because, Vivi is going to be incorporated back into the story at some point. She went from, the Reverie, and she's heading over with Morgan's right now. They're listening in on what the Straw Hats are up to. So I think Vivi's going to show up. Now, probably not right now in the middle of all this nonsense with the God's Knights and everything, but it's very possible that at the end of all this, after the God's Knights have been dealt with and we're kind of winding down Elbaph, Vivi could land on the island with Morgan's and Wapple, I guess. He's there too. But it would be really cool if they go into the heaven layer. Lily's there and it's like, I have been waiting for you for 900 years. Dun 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 dun. And then Vivi's like, ah. And then Lily's like, you are my descendant. And it's like they have a conversation together. I don't know. I'm just thinking about that, because if we're messing with an area of time, a pocket dimension, a space where time doesn't flow or doesn't flow normally, on the top of a magical tree of Elbaph, I could kind of see that. And if we're going along with the logic, let's say the primordial world, as Loki said, really is the first world, the first place that, land existed on the planet. Like, the planet was originally a big super ocean, and then a tree grew out of that somehow, and then that's the first land to ever exist. That's what we have. So if that makes sense, it's the first, maybe there is something at the top that, freezes time in place. I would be okay with that. I don't see an issue with that. All right. That's what I got. Lily could be up there. I don't know. I also did a video a while back talking about Lily possibly being the woman in the photo when they found the Saint Briss, at the beginning of Jaya, at the beginning of the Skypiea saga, right? There was that woman. Maybe that was Lily. I don't know. And a lot of people are saying, well, what if Emu themselves is Lily? Use the personality switch operation from the Op fruit. Not only use the immortal surgery operation, but also personality switch thing to have Vivi's body or Lily's body or something like that. There's a lot of different debates on who Lily is exactly, but I'm gonna say she's at the top of a magic tree in the land of giants. Hey, I was right about Road being the sun god, but I was also wrong about Shiki being Scopper, which means that we go looping back around to me being right about Lily. Yeah! Okay, have a good one, everybody. This will be Teching 101 signing out. Have a great day.